Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
You mean to wish me a good morning, or do you mean that it is a good morning whether I want it or not?
Please go away. Let me speak for the love of God.
I'm going to call mine Beefworm from now on.
There's no context to that.
No.
It just means we're off and running. Good to meet you, Beefworm. G'day, let's get up, let's do it. Good Movie Monday. Another week of nerdy cinematic ramblings. We're here to chew your ear off for another, I don't know, hour or however long this takes. You know, it's a bit different every week.
I think this is the second time around for us, so we can streamline it.
My name is Glenn Cochran, and fresh from Monster Fest is Ben Hellwig, probably exhausted, probably tired. Are you?
I'm in my 47th hour of delirium.
Another big week of Monster Fest, or big weekend, I should say. Thursday night's opening night was a banger. I was there. Loved the film, loved the atmosphere, as always. Big turnout. But yeah, you must be just wrecked.
Yeah, look, it's one of those things that unfortunately, when the festival's on, real life doesn't stop. So you just end up burning the candle at both ends.
That's true.
It's all part of the fun. We only do it twice a year.
That is true. Yeah, look, this film that you screened was just amazing, and you know, people listening to this now have missed their opportunity to see it, but it will be screening somewhere down the line on Shudder.
It's a Rialto film, so it will end up having a physical and
what was it called?
When Evil Lurks.
When Evil Lurks. That's right.
By a Damien Rugner. Rugner.
Yeah.
It's a Spanish film. It's or South American. I'm not exactly sure where it. Argentinian, something like that. I don't know. I've got my finger on the pulse.
Wherever it was filmed, it was a place that can do things that American films can't.
Yeah, and it was like the special effects were great. It had some great gross moments, some great shocking moments,
very shocking
some
moments,
great funny moments.
Yeah,
it kind of really had it all, and I was looking back at the filmmaker's filmography, kind of wishing that. Yeah, sometimes when these guys make these films, this is like the first big one that gets picked up, but he's actually made 3 other films in that kind of universe that have been leading to this one with it, where he gets a budget. Yeah, and that doesn't seem to be the case. But I would love to see more films set in this. Yeah, in this world.
Yes,
yeah.
I'm just shocked at how they can make such really, really grim subject matter quite fun.
Yeah, and look, I think the big takeaway, and I know, look, you certainly said it as we were leaving the cinema, but it was echoed throughout the night. Like, this is what Exorcist Believers should have been.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So, Monster Fest, that's the first weekend out of the way. What else is coming up? We've got a whole week and a bit left.
Yeah, tonight is the only night that we don't have anything on. But starting Tuesday all the way through to Sunday, non-stop. We've got, I think there's a couple of Bruceploitation films
cool
to play. There's a couple of docos. There's a couple of Canadian films on the chart. The only 2 films that I haven't seen was the opening night film, and I haven't seen A Suitable Flesh, which is, I think it's either Thursday or Friday.
Next Saturday.
Saturday.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to that one.
Yep.
Because that one is produced by our old mate and former guest of the show,
Brian
Yuzna, yeah.
As well as being written by Dennis Paoli. And now these are the 2 guys that gave us Reanimator, From Beyond, Castle Freak. These are the 2 guys that really gave us that 80s Lovecraft stuff. Yeah.
So really looking forward to that. There's the Mancunian Man that Jake West directed, the the greatest filmmaker that never was in the UK.
Yeah,
it's fascinating. His first book was Tuxedo Warrior, because he was a bouncer by trade, and then he decided to write a book, and he wrote a book called Tuxedo Warrior. He got optioned, and they made this film in the 80s, so direct to video kind of fodder, but they offered him a bit part in it. Mm-hmm. And he saw how they did. He was like, "Fucking hell! I can do this." And then he just started making his own movies.
See, this shits me, right? I love the stories, but it shits me when you get these filmmakers that say they started because they just thought, "I can do that."
Yeah. Well, once you see how it's done.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I'm confident I could do that. I just never have.
Yeah,
You
look,
know?
I think. I mean, look, I don't know about other people, but I did go to. I didn't do it at a film school. I went to Deakin, which had a film
Department.
course,
Yeah.
a film department, and I did it for a year and a half, and I was like, all right. What I'm sensing from this degree is, if you want to make films, you make films.
Yeah.
You don't go to school.
No, that's correct. That
I mean,
is correct.
Like you can go to school, and it does expose you to, new different kinds of films and film theory and film criticism and stuff like that. But really, you should already have. You should have a lot of that.
Well, this is the thing, right? I mean, this is not to discredit those filmmakers that are listening that have been to film school. Like, I've been to film school too, but you listen to a lot of the big players, right? And they will always tell you, like, you don't learn from film school, you learn from doing.
Yeah.
Like, that's where you learn. You grow. Everyone starts off not knowing shit. Anyway,
Yeah.
getting sidetracked there. But the closing night of the festival is the Emu War. Now, this might be shaping up to be my favourite comedy of the year, without a doubt. Like, it's just funny as all fuck.
And it does feature the horniest man in Australia.
Well,
the former horniest man in Australia, shall we say?
And the reason I bring that up right now is because our guests on this episode are Lisa Fineberg and Jay Morrissey, two of the writers and directors from the Emu War. Lisa's also one of the stars, and we picked their brain about it. You get to sit in on this one, mate.
I do.
It's a good
I
time.
was allowed in. This is one of the few times where I sat in the Zoom waiting room and you clicked that button to let me in.
I didn't. The publicist
The
did.
publicist did. Yeah, that poor woman. She just didn't know any better.
You didn't disappoint either, mate. So you'll hear that in a little bit. The movie's just outrageous. You do want to catch this one. The music that's playing right now underneath us is called... it's music from a game. It's called Spike 2: The Great Emu War. No relation to the movie. It's just a video game that... It's the only emu-related music I could find.
Are there actual emus? Did you play the game?
No, but I think it is the Emu War game.
Right.
Yeah. But it's one of those self-produced games that the guy's made by himself. And
I just love that
self-published.
the Emu War is like a legit moment in Australian history.
I know.
That the press, it was dubbed that by government.
Yeah.
Because it's an emu cull.
Yeah, that's all it
And
was.
then the press just went to town on it.
So we're going to talk about that a little bit more, but also coming up today, Jarrett's going to just drop in for some updated news on physical media and what's coming out and all that stuff. A little pre-recorded Monster Fest thing because he hasn't got time to. No.
We're busy bees.
Yeah, I'm amazed you've got time, and he really obviously doesn't have time.
I didn't have time. I made time.
That's right. And of course, the three guys from the Bonehead Weekly podcast will be coming up in a bit to give us their Kentucky version of Nerdy Cinematic Ramblings. What else, Ben? We went and saw Killers of the Flower Moon last week. The new Martin Scorsese, would you call it Snorefest, or would you call it Ballfest, or would you call it Masterpiece? I don't know. It's good. It's long.
Look, it's great. I think he, in typical Scorsese fashion, he crammed a lot of stuff in there that he probably should have had a producer there saying, keep this for its own film, mate.
Ran it in, mate. Ran it in.
Yeah. But I think it's a very interesting film, and I thought it was really interesting from a Leonardo DiCaprio perspective, because he basically plays a kind of naive, stupid character who's very easily led.
He's
a simpleton.
Yeah.
He's not really sympathetic. It's not even like in a sympathetic way. It's kind of in a repulsive way. Very interesting role, and yet he is the hero of the film.
He was offered the role of the bureau guy, the Jesse Plemons character, and he wanted none of that. He wanted the lead role.
Well, it's a funny thing for Jesse Plemons. Like, it's still a pretty minor role.
Well, the Jesse Plemons character, if I'm not mistaken, people can correct me, I think he's the main character in the book, because the love story doesn't exist in the book.
Right. And
I've seen a featurette of Scorsese saying he wasn't that interested in this movie until he found an angle, and it was the love story. To be honest, I would prefer the FBI procedural angle.
Yeah.
I think the murders themselves are what appeals to me in this movie, because it is a murder investigation story. Yeah. And
so much of the other stuff is just exposition.
He's pulled a Titanic. He's just put a love story in the middle of this true story.
Yeah.
But look, the love story in and of itself, if you love melodrama, that's it's good and all.
It's such a weird. Some of the stuff that DiCaprio's character does. And you're like, is it a love
Yeah, no, it's not. We'll let people discover that for themselves.
I guess when you come back from because he comes back from
The war.
from World War One, I believe.
That's right.
So maybe he's just blunted
He
to human emotion.
He claims even sort of. I mean, we're not going to give stuff away, but he claims that he legitimately fell in love.
Yeah.
But he was also had his arm twisted to speed things along a little bit, just for the benefit of his uncle, Mr. Robert De Niro, who's great in this. I thought he was really good.
Well, but there's one point in the film, not to give too much away, where he's kind of doping his wife because she's too outspoken against the murders that are happening.
Yeah.
And there are powers that be that kind of want to slow her down. So he's given this. She's got diabetes. He's given this insulin, and he's given something to mix into it.
Yeah.
That this will just slow her down. Just slow her down a bit. And he throughout the thing, they make out that he's just this innocent.
Like he doesn't know what he's doing.
And he doesn't know.
Yeah.
But then there is a scene where he doesn't give it all to her. He takes some himself, and it turns out to be heroin or something that they're putting into it.
Yeah.
So he completely knows what it is. Like he's taken it himself.
Yeah, it's a weird character in a weird direction anyway. So there you go. Killers of the Flower Moon. Look, it's at the cinemas and just be prepared.
It's an Apple film.
No intermission.
Released by Paramount.
If you do need to take a piss, they're not going to help you out.
Bring a bottle.
Just pick your moment. Yeah. I did take a piss and I did get a chocked up, and apparently I'm informed I missed something.
I think you missed some killings.
Oh, well, I'm not going to go back to it.
You watch it again and you be like, I can't even tell what part I missed.
Yeah, look, it's a 100-minute film spread out into like an almost 4-hour film.
Tightly compressed into a 4-hour film.
Hey, we've got more things to chat about, but let's throw it to Jared. He's recorded a little bit of a segment for us in lieu of our three-way chat.
There's always time for a three-way, Jared.
Hey, this is Jarrett and welcome to PE class. Now, I'm reporting remotely this week as I'm actually at Monster Fest. It's happening right now in Melbourne, and unfortunately I can't be there to talk with the lads because I'm too busy talking with the attendees at the festival and catching some great genre cinema. But anyway, what is out on home entertainment this week? Well, luckily for the folks that are interstate and awaiting Monster Fest to arrive from October 27 to the 29th, there's some horror titles coming out just in time for the spooky season. And all of these titles are coming out from Viavision. First up, we've got the Army of Darkness Collector's Edition. This is a 3-disc Blu-ray set that includes all 3 cuts of the film, as well as an abundance of special feature content. Next up is Grindhouse Limited Collector's Edition. Now, this is a 4-disc Blu-ray set that not only includes the Grindhouse cut of the film, which is Planet Terror and Death Proof, but also includes the extended editions of both films, along with all the special features that have been released on countless releases before, all amassed onto this one very release. The next release is Sam Raimi's Drag Me to Hell. This one's coming out as a 2-disc Blu-ray set. It's got both cuts of the film, plus new and archival special features. That's right, Viavision have actually gone to the effort of creating new special features for this release. So if you already own the Scream Factory release from the US, it's worth double dipping for the extra features on this release. Then the last release from Viavision in the key of horror is the Stephen King Collection, an 8-disc Blu-ray set that includes Needful Things, Secret Window, Riding the Bullet, 1408, The Mist, and Bag of Bones. Now, the last distributor I will mention that's releasing titles this week, none of which are horror films. However, one of the films did actually play Monster Fest last year. That film is The Cost, which is coming out on Blu-ray and DVD. We've also got the Michael Gudinski documentary, Ego, the Michael Gudinski story, and that one's getting a Blu-ray and DVD. Good to see another Australian music doco getting a Blu-ray release. Then the last release is one that's been, coming for a really long time, and I dare say there was a holdback because it became a Stan exclusive, and that's Nitram. It's coming out on Blu-ray and DVD. Anyway, folks, that's it for me this week. Back to Monster Fest, so until next time, stay physical.
Sad news this week, Ben. We've had 2 Masters of Horror fall off the perch. Very sad. Anthony Hickox was the first to go. Big blow to me. Like, as people that have seen our videos will probably know, 2 of his films loom over my shoulder every single week. So I've got Warlock Armageddon behind me. I've got Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth behind me. These are posters that have they've been with me through thick and thin, mate. So Anthony Hickox is this filmmaker that I have adored for many years. Back in the old podcast days, we referenced him all the time. Died at the age of 64. Way too young.
Yeah. Just in his sleep? Is that the...
I don't know. No information has been given. The news wasn't even made that public. It was a friend of the family that revealed it. And in fact, I found out from Peter Atkins, the guy who wrote Hellraiser 3. But yeah, look, this guy has made some great movies. He's very famous for his Waxwork 1 and 2 films. Those Waxwork they're great. They're great. Full Eclipse, he did one called The Vampire in Retreat, Submerged. One of my favourites, actually, is a Dolph Lundgren film called Jill Rips, which I don't think gets enough mention. He did that one.
I've got that on tape.
That's like a female modern Jack the Ripper film with a female... I don't know what you'd call her, but she's a psycho.
Yeah.
And anyway, but also, only a few days later, the legendary Jeff Burr. Now, this is a guy that...
He's the one who died in his sleep.
I believe he died in his sleep. Yeah. I think it might have been a stroke.
Right.
But, like, wow. Talk about... You go back to the early days of Fake Shemp before Good Movie Monday. He's like one of the first 3 interviews I ever did. He has sort of been in my DMs ever since. He loves to know what's going on. He'd always chat. Jarrett came onto the scene because of that interview, as well as the Fred Decker one. So he's someone that's sort of...
He's actually responsible for the majority of your adult social life.
He certainly is. He certainly is. Without a doubt. Him, Fred Decker, and Everett DeRoche.
And he did some great off-colour stand-up comedy. Oh, hang on. Is that Bill Burr?
Yeah, it's a good thing Jeff Burr had a good sense of humour, mate. This guy directed Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, Leatherface, Pumpkinhead 2, Stepfather 2, Puppet Master 4 and 5, From a Whisper to a Scream with Vincent Price.
It's Pumpkin Face too.
Eddie Presley's one that not many people have heard of, but this is a film that was a passion project for him. Dwayne Whitaker, a guy from Pulp Fiction, is the lead actor, but it also features Bruce Campbell and Quentin Tarantino together in a performance as orderlies. It's just a strange film.
I mean, that makes it really odd to me that Bruce Campbell hasn't been in a Tarantino film.
Well, he was.
He's been in The Orbit. Tarantino knows him. Tarantino writes for people he knows.
He's been in a Tarantino Presents film, but not a Tarantino film.
Yeah.
Because he was in From Dusk Till Dawn too.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I mean, yes, it's the whole Scott Spiegel connection with those guys and Sam Raimi. Like, they actually all, like, Tarantino was in that world. I don't think we'd have a Tarantino without a Scott Spiegel.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have a Scott Spiegel without a Sam Raimi. And we wouldn't have a Bruce Campbell without Sam Raimi. Like, yeah.
Or we wouldn't have a Sam Raimi without Bruce Campbell.
That's true. Either way.
What's Evil Dead without Ash?
Whichever way you cut it. Anyway, very sad news. Anthony Hickox, Jeff Burr wanted to give a little bit of a mention and shout out to those guys. Will be missed, like, for sure. I know I will not stop talking about their work. All right, but moving on, picking things up, mate. We put more questions to our listeners over the last week. I love doing this. It provides content. It means we can interact with people and talk about movies. So the question this week, in the spirit of the Emu War that we'll be talking about later, what are your top 3 Aussie comedies? Simple. Put it out there. I'm surprised. There's a few leaders. There's a few movies really vying for the top spot here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of unexpected, but also a little bit predictable. So let's go with the first one off the off the rank. Matthew Holmes, the guy who's filmed The Cost, is out now on Blu-ray, or almost out on Blu-ray. He reckons Hercules Returns.
Nice.
The Castle.
Nice.
Mary and Max.
Really?
Yeah. He used to be an animator, remember? A stop-motion animator. He's responsible for those Schmacko's commercials and I think Louis the Fly.
Who, Mary and Max guy? Or
No, Matthew Holmes.
Yeah,
Matthew
right.
Holmes, yeah. A lot of those famous commercials, he's the guy that did them.
Yeah, right.
Before he went into features. So that's not surprising as far as Mary and Max. The Castle, I thought that was going to come up.
Yeah.
Someone had to bring that up.
I actually prefer The Dish.
Me too. I was going to say that in the chat. So I was going to say, look,
Yeah.
I think The Dish is the better film here. Maybe not as hilarious.
It's not as funny, no. It's just it's a better drama.
Yeah.
It's a better story.
It's a true story with a lot of humour, working dog style. But yeah, Brody Kane, long-time listener, he's been a follower of this show since episode 1. He reckons Crackers, which is that Aussie Christmas movie.
Who's that guy in it? Who's the guy from his Alf from the UK who was in
Yeah, I don't know.
like one of those famous...
But Peter
British
Roseform
sitcoms.
was in it, and I remember that. And I remember the old the old couple having a root in the back shed. That was funny. But he also reckons Chopper, which I've never really thought of as a comedy, but it is.
But it totally is.
It is. Like,
Yeah.
I know it is, but,
But it's like The Magician is a comedy.
Yeah, that's right. It's just a dark
A
comedy.
dark comedy, yeah.
Yeah. Operating within a crime
Yeah.
sort of genre. And then Crackerjack, which Crackerjack's a banger. Like, I've revisited that recently. That's the Mick Malloy film, and it is good.
It's a crackerjack.
Good
It's a
comedy.
crackerjack film.
Our listener Lindsay Morgan reckons Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. Getting Square.
See, the funny thing about Getting Square is the only funny thing I can remember about that film is David Wenham
Yeah, playing the bogan.
playing the bogan, and when he cons the people in the court out of like bus money and lunch money, like it's hilarious.
Yep.
But I don't remember Sam Worthington cracking a joke at all, or
No.
like anything else in that film.
It's one
being
of those.
comedic.
It's the comedy like Dirty Deeds. There's a whole lot of these movies where it's like Chopper. Like it operates within a different genre and happens to be funny.
Chopper had a lot of comedic moments in it. I'm not saying Getting Square doesn't.
Yeah.
I just don't remember. Like Chopper has a number of things in it where you're like, that was funny.
And this is what I find interesting because yes, hilarious, but that is all coming straight from the real Chopper's personality, right?
Yeah.
And he was a scary figure in real life who had charisma. So you could look at it just as a drama because they're depicting his character as is.
Yeah.
It just happens
He's
to be...
just a funny person.
He's a funny person.
It's like, it's like something like Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, which I didn't find particularly funny, yet it is about, Chuck Barris, and the situation is like amusing. Like it's a talk show host that's an undercover agent for the CIA or whatever it is. Like it's it was done differently.
That's right. We had Stan Stanley, who commented last week on the show. The Club. That's a great comedy.
That's getting into my top. That's my number one.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's my number one favorite Australian.
It is a great film. Is it John Howard in that as the young
Yeah,
player?
John Howard, Graham Kennedy,
Jack Thompson.
Jack Thompson.
All about the Collingwood Football Club and the politics that goes on with this new recruit. Yeah, it's a good one. Also, The Castle. So The Castle sort of coming in a bit of a lead here.
there.
And he died with a falafel in his hand.
Which I put on in the video store, but never really
did anything for me. However, I used to think that this was the third chapter in the Danny Embling trilogy. So you had The Year My Voice Broke and Flirting, and because it's Noah Taylor in both of those. And then this film came along, and before I saw it, I noticed on the credit roll his name was Danny. The character was Danny. I'm like, oh, finally we've got
Is it
this,
the same?
the long-awaited third installment, and it wasn't.
Because I thought it was connected to that Cane Toad movie that came a couple of years later.
I don't. I have no idea. I don't know if it is connected with anything, but is it?
I think maybe it's based on a novel
Richard
by the
Lowenstein that directed it.
very very possibly.
I think
I
it
don't
might
actually
be.
remember, but it's based on a book.
Yeah,
from memory,
totally.
which I think that the Cane Toad one was based on a book by the same guy. Maybe that's the connection.
It is Richard Lowenstein. Okay, so then Cameron Doncaster weighed in. And I think this is a pretty good selection. Not many people will agree with this first one, but I'm kind of inclined to go with it. Les Patterson Saves the World. I think that's a fantastic
fucking oath,
movie.
it's hilarious.
Yeah. Muriel's Wedding, which
Also a great comedy.
is a good movie. Here's one for you. Number 96, the movie.
Yeah.
Now, I forgot that had a movie, but that is a sexy, sexy show.
Yeah.
Makes me want to watch the movie.
Yeah. It's I don't think you can watch the complete series. I think they're lost.
No.
There's a lot of lost stuff with that.
So here comes some. See what's taking the lead after this one. So we've got Sandy Platt suggested The Castle and Crackerjack, but then 50 First Dates. Now I don't think that's an Australian film at all, unless I'm mistaking it for something.
50 First Dates.
Is that the Adam Sandler? Yeah.
one? Maybe it was made here.
Maybe, because sometimes you look up Australian films and these American ones pop up just because there's...
It wasn't set in Hawaii.
Yeah, because sometimes there's Australian money behind them, but
Yeah.
I think that's... Maybe she's thinking of a different film. I don't know. Anyway.
Maybe it's Dating the Enemy or something like that.
Yeah,
instead.
it's not a bad one. So then I put the question to the Good Movie Monday team as well. And so far, not everyone has contributed to this, but we've had Jarrett weigh in with Around the World in 80 Ways.
Yeah.
And that's got that great post with a banana.
Yeah.
Reckless Callie.
Nice.
And They're a Weird Mob. Now, They're a Weird Mob is right up there for me. Like, it is a funny, funny movie.
Yeah.
It's not in my top three, though, but it's
It's like, if you haven't seen it, it's very, very similar to that series of commercials, that How to Speak Australian commercials.
It's about an immigrant that comes to Australia and is just a fish out of water and doesn't understand any of the colloquialisms.
Or the
And how friendly people can be until you're not on board, and then they turn on you.
Yeah.
If you don't want a beer, you're the enemy.
Which, funnily enough, is a motif that runs through Wake and Fright as well.
Yeah, totally. It was a thing in Australia. Like, mateship was a big thing, and people want you to be their mate immediately.
Yeah.
And if you reject an offer, like a beer...
Yeah, well, you're too good to drink with me, are you?
That's right.
Bloody...
Well, someone...
I mean, it leads right into the tall poppy syndrome, which is also a great Australian trait.
Totally. And it's the whole, like, I'm going to buy you a beer, unaware that you've got to shout the next one. Like, you just get roped into it.
Yeah. There's no such thing as there's no actual thing as a free beer.
No. Chloe weighed in with 2 hands, which that's another one that operates on 2 genres.
Yeah.
The Castle.
Yeah.
And, look, she admitted this to me privately, but not in our group. The Nugget.
Jesus Christ.
Now that's
Chloe.
That relates to something I'm going to talk about a little bit later on, but that's Bill Bennett. I love Bill Bennett's films. I don't think that's his best one. But that's an interesting one.
It barely qualifies as a film.
Peter Moon's in there.
Yeah, and with Dave O'Neill.
Well, I think Chloe's leaning towards that one because she interviewed Dave O'Neill on her other podcast.
Right.
So she's got a soft spot for it. And then we had Malsey come in with The Castle. So The Castle's clearly taken the lead.
Yeah.
And Chopper. But she didn't give a third one. Yeah, the directive was 3.
She could only think of 2.
And then we had Chad from Kentucky. Came in with an unexpected nomination of Frauds.
Yeah.
Which is the Phil Collins film,
yeah.
directed by Stephen Elliott, who went on to do Priscilla. Maybe that's more well known in the States than it is here, or maybe he's just all over it.
I would have been less surprised if he had said Horseplay. Was his favourite Australian comedy.
He also said Rams, which is the remake of the Swedish film.
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
Rams is great. Michael Caton and Sam Neill, about the sheep farmers.
Oh, okay.
And 2 brothers living next door to each other, and they're estranged. They don't talk.
I just figured it was another Charlie and Boots, so I didn't feel the
Now,
need
look,
to watch it.
the original foreign film is incredible, but this is a really interesting way of making it Aussie. And as sheep disease breaks out, and they have to kill all the sheep in the region because quarantine and all that kind of stuff. But one of the brothers can't get rid of his prized merino and tries to hide it in his house, but he has the problem of lots of visitors. So it's a comedy of errors. It's a very good film, and I understand why Chad loves it. Sam Neill and Michael Caton work really well together. And then he said Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
You know what I'm surprised that didn't get mentioned by anyone?
What?
Crocodile Dundee.
That's one of mine.
It's one of yours?
Yeah,
it's an odd...
Let's talk about mine. In no particular order, Crocodile Dundee is one of them.
Hang on, you forgot my 3 that I mentioned in that group chat, which isn't my
Oh,
real...
no, I'm coming to you.
Oh.
I'm coming to you.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got to do mine, and then I was going to throw to yours.
Oh, no, I don't mean my real ones. I mean just the ones I put in the chat.
Oh, would you like to do that? Go on. Strzelecki, anyone?
Yeah.
What was the other one?
It was the Bermagui Bronze.
Yep.
Ron's Barney.
Yep.
And Kelvin, son of Melvin, son of Elvin.
Oh, so it wasn't Strzelecki at all.
No, there's no way you can... Have you ever tried to spell Strzelecki?
But, I mean, that's the nice way to tie it all in with, the Castle and Cracker Jack, really.
Yeah.
Some Tony Martin Gold in there.
I just, yeah. I'm actually surprised that, I mean, once again, it's Sign of the Times, that Don's Party didn't get mentioned either.
I guess a lot of people don't know it anymore.
Is it just like forgotten films?
They did a sequel play about 10 years ago.
Right, yeah.
But I'm surprised that didn't get adapted.
Yeah.
I reckon today it's a different political climate. If you were to produce that, I think you'd just have people that love it and people that hate it, and there's no mutual... Because that's the thing about the original, right? It's about the political divide at a party.
Yeah.
But people from both sides came and enjoyed that movie. It didn't matter what you thought. People enjoyed it because they relate to that. Now it's like, no, lynch them if they hate it, They love it. Anyway, my 3, and then I'll throw to yours. I've got Crocodile Dundee, but I did... That tied with me with Young Einstein.
Yeah.
Because I love Young Einstein. I think it's a very, very excellent comedy. And it aged well. But then I've got Kenny.
Right.
I can watch Kenny any day of the week, and I still laugh out loud. I think it's a genius film. And then my number 1, this is the one that is irrefutably number 1, has to be The Big Steal.
Yeah.
That's my number one.
Yeah, that's my number 2.
Oh, excellent. I don't think rom-coms get much better. Like teenage rom-coms, there's a lot of great John Hughes movies and America does it well, but I think Nadia Tass nailed it with The Big Steal.
100%. But look, I'm a big believer in the quality of a film is judged strictly by the amount of lines that you can repeat afterwards. And The Big Steal has possibly the greatest line in comedy history where...
I'm trying to think of what it is.
What
Go for it.
It's when a very drunk Steve Bisley
Is it blowing
gets arrested. No, he gets arrested by the female police officer. He goes, "Geez, check out the tits on that bloke."
Right before blowing ear.
Right before, and he's wearing like suspenders.
Oh, he's wearing he's wearing
lingerie,
stockings and high heels.
Yeah.
Whoops.
He's got a blow up doll. It's hilarious.
Oh, it is. The Cedric, that's a good one in there.
Cedric,
Oh, it's just a jag.
Yeah.
It is just one of my all-time favourite Australian films. It's one of my favourite rom-coms. The soundtrack is fantastic. It's a real slice of the time. I'm taken right back to the 90s when I watch it every single time.
And seemingly now realistically Australia's most successful export is Damien Herriman, and he
Ben Mendelsohn.
And Ben Mendelsohn's coming back, but I feel like just under the current, Damien Herriman is just in everything.
Yeah, Herriman's the one that the Americans don't know is Aussie.
Yeah.
Mendelsohn, though, I think they've cottoned onto him.
Yeah.
Because he's a bit more prominent.
I mean, he's funny because he had virtually disappeared. He was playing, third, fourth string kind of parts in a lot of stuff because he's had his fair share of personal problems.
Yep.
But then he pops up in Killing Me Softly, which I didn't even think was that great of a film.
It was Animal Kingdom that put him on the American map, right? Because Jackie Weaver had won the Oscar, so everyone was interested in this film. But here's something for the people that are not Australian that are listening. Ben Mendelsohn had a very long career in Australia before he broke into America. He was the lead in so many films as a teenager, right? The Big Steal, Metal Skin. He was
the Arkell Street Murders.
The Year My Voice Broke. He was just a very prominent figure.
Spotswood.
Absolutely. I met him once when he was promoting Metal Skin. I was doing work experience at Triple R.
Right.
He was a bit of a cunt. Let's just put it that way. But he was also absolutely in the prime of his drug-addled, stardom.
Well, he used to come into alternate worlds all the time, and there was always the rumor that one time he came in, he asked to use the toilet, and they in the back, and the next person who went in after he did not flush and just left this gigantic turd in the bowl.
That's an exclusive right there.
That's there, yeah.
Hear it only on Good Movie Monday, everyone.
It's a heroin shit. Or maybe it's you getting off heroin because the heroin makes you constipated.
Well, anyway, there you go. So Ben Mendelsohn was a big deal in Australia for a long time, and now he's the prime. He's making Spielberg films and Star Wars films.
He's in Star Wars, yeah. He's in, was he in Indiana Jones?
No.
Was he one of the guys chasing him?
No. But he's in that caliber of film now. He's got a new serial killer movie out. Anyway. So that's it. What are your top three?
Well, my top three The Club is number 1, Big Steal is number 2, and number 3. Look, it can go a lot of ways, and I'm just going to mention it because it hasn't been mentioned.
Yep.
But I thoroughly rate Sweet Talker with Brian Brown.
You've mentioned it a few times.
It's not even like a real laugh out loud comedy. It's just like a light drama.
Yes,
but I fucking love it.
Yeah, that's a good one. A notable mention to me before we throw to our song would be Manny Lewis, the Carl Barron rom-com. Back when we did Fake Shemp, we had awards every year, like best film, we'd award them and just give them something. And Manny Lewis was my film of the year. It is a really underrated movie, and I implore everyone to go check it.
Check it out. Yeah. I'm surprised we didn't mention The Crack or...
There's too many. This is the thing. There's too many.
Too many great Australian comedies.
I mean, I'll even say...
We didn't even do Barry McKenzie or...
That's right.
I mean, we mentioned that Don's Party didn't get a mention, but a lot of those movies from that era.
Mm-hmm. Alvin Purple, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Alvin Purple, yeah.
Yeah, there's just so many. But I just came back to the comfort films, the ones I can watch on repeat and do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big Kenny for the win. Love him.
time for bed. Well, now I gotta find a place to lay my head. Well, it's a hungry time where people kiss the ground. And the higher you go, that's where the feeling goes. There's a world out there where people just don't care about what's going down right here in Hungry Town. Well, let me tell you a story about Hungry Town, where the men love men and women kiss the ground. I got my hat and a dollar bill. Lord, I feel so hungry, I'm feeling ill. Well, it's a hungry town where people kiss the ground. And the higher you go, that's where the feeling grows. There's a world out there where people just don't care about what's going down right here in Hungry Town. Well, it's a hungry town where people kiss the ground. And the higher you go, that's where the feeling grows. There's a world out there where people just don't care about what's going down right here in Hungry Town. Hungry Town, 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 Hungry
So that was Hungry Town by a band called Big Pig. And I resorted to playing that one because it's from the Young Einstein soundtrack, talking about all these funny Aussie comedies. And
I really wish you would have played Up There Kazali from The Club.
Had I known.
Except it seems to have Collingwood connotations, which I don't appreciate.
we don't want
That's
that.
the worst thing about The Club. The best thing about The Club is that it's a fantastic film. The worst thing about The Club is that it's about Collingwood.
I was about to say, we don't need those listeners, but Melzy's one of them. So, sorry, Melzy. Oh, I know you've listened to this too. So
She can take it. They just won the grand final. They can suck up a little bit of
that is right.
criticism.
But Young Einstein is one of those Aussie comedies that has rewritten history, like Young Einstein. That's why I chose that song. But let's talk about the Emu War. And I love it when the Aussies rewrite history. The other great comedy was, of course, Wills and Burke.
Wills and Burke, yeah.
Which, Umbrella have released it on DVD. And if you watch it and you have let's just say, a modern social sensibility, that's going to offend you. And that's what I love about it. I just
any of those, was it Dad and Dave on our selection? All of those.
Yes. This is the thing. Like, we could tangent this forever.
Yeah.
We really could.
Was it all of those? Just about every Bruce Spence movie, Stork and
Dimbula,
Midnight Spares.
Stork.
Yeah, anything with David Argue in it is problematic. Pandemonium we didn't mention.
That's right.
I mean, that has to be classed as a comedy, surely.
Oh, those what is it? I wish I could remember his name. Is it Hayden Keenan? Did Going Down and he did Pandemonium and Going Down. Which has got the greatest... Look, it's got one of the greatest comedy scenes in Australian cinema history with David Argue on roller skates in a bar, getting drunk. Yeah. Oh, my God. I don't like to talk favourably about David Argue anymore, but that, I've got to give him props. That is just
pretty funny.
One of the great moments. But whatever happened to this Emu War movie that John Cleese, Rob Schneider, and Jim Jeffries were making together?
Yeah.
It just kind of went nowhere.
Went away.
It was a big deal. If you Google Emu War John Cleese, you will probably find a photo of him and Rob Schneider getting very chummy because they're about to launch into this Emu War film, which I
mean, that's the pairing that I
But Jim Jeffries as well?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I just imagine that if that film happens, it would be much more of a British type of film like it is. I don't think the emus would fight back. I just think it would be a comedy of errors on the British side.
Surely John Cleese is playing one of the emus, right?
I reckon he'd be a general, wouldn't he? He'd be the army general.
No, he'd be an emu in the prosthetics.
I don't reckon it would be that kind of movie. I reckon it would just be from a military point of view how they've overreacted and declared war against the emus. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the Emu War, the film that's screening at Monster Fest for closing night, and this film has to be seen to be believed. If you watch the trailer, you get just a little bit of a taste of what it's all about, but you really do have to dive deep into this to really get the comedy.
Yeah, and it started its life as a web series. They got funding from Screen Australia for a web series, but it was just so good that they turned it into a feature film.
Yep, and you're about to hear from the creatives, and I think as we speak, there is still room left in the encore screening. So
there are still tickets available. Yes.
Check it out, unless it's sold out. By the time this episode drops, or by the time you listen to it. And hey, you might be listening next year, and you missed out.
And there is the beauty of these screenings is that there will be a massive contingent of cast and crew there. So
get along.
If you do want to, if you do love the film and you want to chat to them afterwards, you certainly can.
All right, let's have a listen, and then coming up will be the Boneheads to chase it. Jay, Lisa, awesome to be chatting. How are you both?
Yeah, we're great. Thank you. How are you guys going?
Yeah, doing good. I don't even know where to begin with this one. God only knows how the Q&A at Monster Fest is going to go. That'll be interesting. But I'll start by saying congratulations on scoring the closing night spot, because I can't think of a better way to cap off the festival.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
I did I did what I now call a Harold Holt, and I pissed myself watching this movie. Like, it's gut-bustingly funny. It's wrong in all of the right ways. So congratulations.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting anyway.
Yeah, you're a freaky bunch of people. This movie joins the ranks of like some really great Aussie comedies that have rewritten history. Stuff like Wills and Burke, Young Einstein, Ned. That was one that came to mind. Who conceived the idea for Emu War, and what convinced you to sort of turn it from a web series into a film?
So our friend, we all met doing stand-up comedy in Melbourne, and our friend Jonathan Schuster in 2015 came to us with the idea, and we thought it would be a really fun way to do like all sorts of crazy jokes and stuff, and I don't know, just started developing it with him. We developed it into like 6-minute short film, which was too bad for us to put out, and so then we cut that into a trailer, and put that online, and then that went okay, and so then we developed it with Screen Australia, and that's sort of the story about how things got going.
Yeah, and I think with the trailer, the original sort of proof of concept trailer, it became very clear that there's like a really big audience for this. People were just so into the idea, and so many comments about people just like, oh, I would just love to see this. And so I guess that gave us a lot of like encouragement that this was a great idea to run with. And then again, from our actual trailer that just came out, you can see that again, still just so many people are just kind of just love the concept. And so I think it was definitely something worth pursuing, which I'm glad we did.
So if I'm not mistaken, the web series never saw the light of day. Like, it ended up being reserved for the film. Is that correct?
Yeah. So essentially, it went as a web series, and then there was some interest to turn it into a film. And basically, it's the story was always it was always a narrative. It wasn't just like little snippets. So it kind of works just fine as a full film.
Sure.
So it was just some tweaking in the edit, but it's pretty much the same story as we were going to have as the web series.
I'm just curious, when you come up with something like this, and you're sitting there with the kind of bare bones of the script, do you go kind of scene by scene and go, how can we take this to the extreme? Like with every, because I mean it's pretty non-stop with the like. There's no like. I don't want to say there's no point where it's grounded in reality, where it is, but it's just so like every scene is hilarious.
Well, I think it helps that the writers are all comedians. And it was kind of, I mean, we did writers' rooms, and it was just sitting around a table throwing ideas out, and kind of everyone going like, can we do that? That's a bit nuts. And then
how do people get it? How would someone break out of prison? Like, they have to have sex, and it's so hot that the bars melt. It's like an example. It's like, how long was pretty soon just like floating? It's just like, was pretty organic. All of the ideas.
Yeah.
It's just sort of like.
I mean, admittedly, since watching the film, I think to myself now in every situation, what would the horniest man in Australia do?
Oh, don't start me on Alan. Oh my god.
That's Jonathan Schuster. So
he was
he reserved the best role for himself. Yeah.
My god, yeah, like I'm going to be quoting that guy for years, I reckon. So look, I mean, the thing is, I was amazed because I've been watching your videos for years, like your online stuff, and I didn't even realize that you were involved with sort of Emu War until I saw all of you start popping up. I'm like, oh my god, I've been watching these guys for so long. So it makes sense how you've got everyone involved in a movie like this. But speaking of people like investors like Screen Australia and things like that, how do you convince them with material that's so crass and edgy? Like, are they on board from the start? Are they worried about, you know, sensitivities in the market and all that kind of stuff?
Well, they've been so supportive. I think that they're just open to kind of comedy, and it's like, I know some of it is a bit out there, but it's all in good fun. And, you know, I don't think we're offending anybody. I don't think anybody's going to be like severely like that was, you know, it's like it goes on the edge for sure. And we talked a lot with them about treading the line. And I think there are a few things that we had in the original scripts that kind of, there was like the conversation was like, oh, is this a bit, maybe this is going a bit far or something, you know? So I think we did tone some stuff back from the original, from the script, and maybe in the edit we lost a couple of things, but all in all it was
there's a scene that I don't want to give any spoilers, but there's a scene with a ghost, and
it's kind of on
and
the
that
edge.
was like
It's a discussion.
People from Screen Australia were like, we really strongly want it to go, and we were like, we're passionate about this and we need it in there. And then they let us have it in there. So it was like, you know, so they've been so good.
Yeah.
You know? I always wonder if those meetings are kind of like, so you've got in the script that the Queen Emu is going to have 6 boobs. Is there any room to move? And you're like, well, we can go 4. But how about 2? No, it needs to at least.
You can't have a human account. It's got to be.
Yeah. It's a thing. It's of degrees.
Yeah.
That's
That's kind of the way it goes, really. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, it is comedy, and it is our kind of comedy. And I think because we've been doing stuff for a while now, it's our style and kind of voice is becoming fairly clear. So therefore, it's like if we didn't do this kind of stuff, it would be too off-brand. You know, like this is what people are expecting, and so it's kind of I guess that's why it was like, well, if it gets too pulled down, then it's not really letting us do, you know, what we want to do creatively, which I think is the point, to like support the artists to be allowed to do the kind of comedy that they, you know, are trying to do. So, we've been very lucky with the support there.
And we were shocked when they approved it.
Yeah.
As well. We like when we got the call, we were like, oh my god.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
I have to imagine that the original submission, it's like, you know, Johnny Depp when he came up with the Captain Jack Sparrow makeup and stuff, and he went to a 10 expecting them to pull him back to what he actually wanted. And then they said yes to all of this.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, we did spend years on that application, so I mean, we definitely worked hard to get the yes. But I think it's a good show of like, you know, just being allowed to like kind of express the comedy in this way. Yeah.
I think we've ticked over year 6 of like work being spent on this project, and we're not finished.
Yeah.
Time's ticking. I mean, I know we're focused a little bit on the outrageousness of it and I think that's the best selling point of the film, to be honest. And as well as all of your mates that you've got, the comedians, you've got like Damien Callanan is in there as well, and he's fantastic. And I don't think there's anything more tragic than a bloke losing his wobble board. That just sort of broke my heart right from the start. But you know, the fact that you do have a few people in there that are not, you know, regulars to your work, was there anything they weren't willing to do, or was it just everyone in right from the get-go?
There were things that our actors were willing to do that I was truly shocked. Like, like just such troopers. I think everybody was,
We to not give too much away, but there's like yeah, Damien's is sort of like, what would he be in his like late 50s?
Yeah, he's been amazing.
Yeah.
Like considering how ridiculous the show is.
Like oiled, like, you know, sort of oiled him up and like had him shot for way too long doing like a
really great things.
A sex
What
scene.
oiled up as well.
Yeah, they're all oiled up.
Very steamy. It was very hot in that studio.
And we're like coming up with different positions and stuff. And we're like, we got enough. We can move on, sort of. And he was really great about it. He was like, we really put him through the like. He told me he sometimes gets sore knees, and I was like, there's an ungodly amount of kneeling his character. All this like
such legend
stuff.
Like,
he's such a legend, you know. Just to like, you know, just to be part of such a small, like little stupid movie, you know.
It's such a show of like how good these guys' sense of humors are. Really, like there was nothing that anybody was like, oh, that's too much, or I don't want to do. It was like everyone was just open to is this going to make it funnier? Yes, then let's do it. Like, which is a great vibe on set. And there were some days where it was just like a lot of laughing.
What was the hardest thing to shoot in terms of keeping a straight face?
Great question.
Well, for me, there's a scene where we're in the cell, and I'm explaining why I can't be part of the orgy, and and John Campbell, our other director, and Jay were just yelling some lines at me, like try this, and they were just getting more and more ridiculous. And I don't know if you remember that scene, but there's a lot of it does end up in the edit, but there's heaps that doesn't, and I could not keep a straight face. Like,
the kissing for warmth.
We were all laughing.
Yeah, that was it. That's a great scene.
And in sort of elaborating on that, like, do you each have a favorite gag in the film that's not a spoiler? I got to say, for me, it's probably the bro moment with the bush tucker. That whole gag was brilliant.
Oh, right,
and obviously Alan's intro just had me in stitches.
I know, I love those two.
Yeah.
God, I'm just trying to think what my favorite is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really like that. I really like the sort of I don't know. I think it's kind of a spoiler, but there's stuff to do with the dead son's foreskin, which I don't want to give away too much.
I don't think that's a spoiler in and of itself, like, because that sort of doesn't say a lot.
There's a lot of people who listen to our podcast who are only listening to it because of the constant references to Dead Boy's foreskin. So
yeah.
I
wanted to join the lineage. I think the previous damn it, that was probably
That's true, because the way you were describing the jail escape before, that's how we warm up for a show. So
Good. But is it 10 a.m.? Yes, good.
It's hard. I love it all. It's all good stuff. Get along.
See, look, we were watching some last night, just kind of trying to like prepare ourselves for what people are going to react to, and I was still crying, like, and I've watched it all 100 times. So, I hope people like it.
I don't doubt they will. And like, it's obviously been, as you explained, a long and grueling process to get the movie to this point and then get it over the line. But have you thought about what's next for you, or is it too soon for that?
Yeah, we've been thinking about what's next, but we have like lots of ideas, and none have like jumped through the picket line yet. So
yeah, right.
Yeah,
I think Goxie needs his own movie.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
We've had the Coca-Cola kid. He could be the Big M kid.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm shocked that he hasn't been sponsored by Big M yet.
He missed out on the lead role in the Shannon Warne biopic.
Yeah.
I feel like
should have been in that.
Should have been in that. I mean, he should be in everything.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
But
yes.
Yeah.
Probably
something with him.
Probably something with him and all the other people that are in everything. But yeah,
for sure.
To be able to kind of, just get all the people that have been, we've been making stuff for years, and it's nice to be able to kind of grab all those people and put them in a film. So,
but it's at this point as well, it's quite like daunting, just the idea of going like, you start writing stuff and you go, God, do I want to live with this for the next 6 years?
Yeah.
That's
It's a,
true.
it's a good way to filter out the ideas, though. Like you
Yeah,
come up with
exactly.
20 ideas, and you go, "Do I want to? Do I want to spend 20 years on this biopic of Harold Holt?" Well, if he kills himself all the time, maybe I do.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, we'll wrap things up in a minute, but yeah, I just want to say congratulations. And this is a film, like, as Ben will attest, after I watched it, I couldn't stop like referencing it. And right now I'm just tempted to just quote it and reference it all the way through. Like, it just really tickled my fancy. And yeah, I'm probably going to go back and watch it again at Monster Fest. So congrats.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so
Love
much.
hearing that.
Yeah,
I do want to ask both Glenn and I. We've only seen a work in progress print,
Yes.
and it's also like I'm also one of the programmers for Monster Fest.
Oh, cool.
Funnily enough, and it's the same print we watched, and the question has come back every time is like, the guys in blue, like, are you going to keep those guys in there? Because it actually
There's something about that that really.
Sometimes it's hilarious, like watching them with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not, but there was a point like where the other day where like there's a chase scene with Goxie and an emu and there was a shot of the blue guy. We need to get him out, and I feel like
It's
you
the
were like,
blue
oh,
guy.
maybe we'll keep him in. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Well,
So hard to know.
It
if
pops
people-
up just very briefly. You're just like,
Oh.
is that funny?
Yeah.
like if you do an alternative previews cut and put it on the DVD or something like that, like, I'm sure people would love that as well.
Yes. Yes. We do want to do one of those, before and after VFX like cuts. There you have it.
Yes. Awesome.
But yeah, those bits were ridiculous. But yeah.
Well, thanks so much for the time to have a chat with us. It's a thrill. I want to own this film. I want to show it to everybody, and can't get enough of it.
Thank you so
much,
much.
guys. Lovely
Hopefully-
to chat to you.
Yeah, hopefully see you. Oh, I'm sure I'll see you at Monster Fest.
Yeah,
No doubt.
definitely.
Incredible, thanks.
Welcome to Bonehead Weekly Fun Size, and we lost somebody that we really, really loved having on the show, Jeff Burr. And we're going to take a few moments to talk about some of our favorite movies. And if you all don't mind, I'm going to go first because I'm already talking.
Yep.
I saw The Stepfather 2 before I ever saw the first Stepfather. In fact, I don't think I actually watched the original Stepfather, directed by Joseph Rubin, until a few years ago. And The Stepfather Part 2 has a special place in my heart. I don't know why. It's not as good as the original, but once again, Jeff Burr gets something out of nothing in it. And plus, it has Terry O'Quinn and Meg Foster. We found out when we interviewed Jeff Burr that Meg Foster was not his original choice, and he always thought she was slightly miscast. But I always loved her in the movie because I always loved Meg Foster's eyes. And then I have a story about later meeting Meg Foster and finding out that, bless her, sweet lady, batshit nuts. So, who wants to go next?
I can go. Honestly, and we got a great story when we interviewed Jeff Burr, and I'll never forget it. And bless him for doing our show. But if you know me at all, I love Vincent Price. I love Vincent Price, everything. And I believe it was the second film he directed was From a Whisper to a Scream, which starred Vincent Price. And it's also a throwback to those old wraparound story films where you got normally it's 3, he does 4 short stories with a wraparound, and it's Vincent Price plays the historian that's telling the stories and all of that. And it's a classic throwback to stuff I used to watch with my father. We watched the ones from the 50s and 60s, and I loved in 70s, and I loved them. So it had a soft spot in my heart anyway. But and then Vincent Price on top of it. It's something that means a lot to me. And so, it's, if you've never seen it, it's not going to change your view of cinema. But if you do love those old Hammer films that did that wraparound storyline and stuff like that, you should see From a Whisper to a Scream.
Yep. Chad.
Okay. I am admittedly a huge Puppet Master fan. I loved every single. I was always at the video store. I had my little magazine that said when movies got released, and whenever I saw a Puppet Master movie was coming out, I was at the video store that Saturday renting it so I could watch it over the weekend over and over again. And Jeff Burr's additions to Puppet Master 4 and 5, are probably by far my 2 favorite Puppet Master films. And when we got the opportunity to talk to him, admittedly, I didn't know he did the Puppet Master films. And when I did my research, I was like, oh no, he did Puppet Master 4 and 5. And then we got to talk to him and hear stories about that. I was beyond giddy. I always hold those movies fondly to me. And with him passing, it's kind of it's one of those holes that, it's there. But I still have his movies to go back and look at. In fact, I'll probably be watching Puppet Master 4 this weekend, thinking about Jeff. So it's on the plan.
Yeah. We never got to meet you. COVID killed a lot of what we wanted to do. Sorry about that. Well, we never got to go hang out. All right. This has been a very serious, unfortunately, Bonehead Weekly.
Hold on. Let's end it on this. There we go.
And with that, we bid you fondue.
Adieu.
Adieu.
Good on the Boneheads there. A tribute to Jeff Burr. Fantastic for them to get that in a timely fashion, because we can't pay tribute enough to the great man, and that is definitely sad. But please subscribe to the Bonehead Weekly podcast. Find them everywhere you get podcasts, but do find them on YouTube and Facebook. You can watch them. It's good. It's good. And those weekly fun size segments they do for us, their videos on their YouTube as well. So you can go watch them isolated. You don't need us. You don't need us. You can just watch them. Now it's time to recommend some movies. I went down the Aussie comedy road here, and I mentioned Bill Bennett before because we spoke about The Nugget. He made a movie that I had forgotten about. I watched this many times on VHS. 1994, Spider and Rose.
Yeah, right. I remember thinking this was like a...
Oh, not Harold and Maude.
Harold and Maude.
Yeah.
I remember thinking it was an Australian Harold and Maude.
It is basically an Australian Harold and Maude.
Right.
Yes. Which was going to be my next line.
I've never seen it.
The long way. So. We got there. But yes, this is a film I really, really do recommend. It is on YouTube for free, so go and check it out. It's a pretty good version of it there. But Ruth Cracknell, Simon Bossell, and Max Cullen star. Bill Bennett writes and directs. And the story is simple. It's a road movie. It is about a 21-year-old paramedic that has to drive an elderly woman from her hometown in an ambulance on his last day of the job. Right? So he doesn't want to do it. He's a cocky sort of drug-using ambo, and she's a fuddy-duddy old woman. But they clash, and, as these kind of movies do, and you'd predict, they do become good friends by the end of it through a series of... situation, let's say.
Sexy situations?
There's full nudity on Ruth Cracknell's part. They share a naked bath together, and she gets it all off.
Out.
But
Arthur.
I say Arthur. It is a really, really beautiful film. It's as much a drama as it is a comedy. In fact, I've heard Bill Bennett say he doesn't consider it a comedy because it's more it's his take on how you treat the elderly. It's a message, blah, blah, blah. But it is a comedy. You watch it and they just crack jokes and it's funny. And
the reality is anyone who lives with an older relative or has to deal with an older person on a regular basis, really the best way to deal with them is with a shovel to the back of the head and a shallow bush grave. I don't think I'm talking out of turn.
Well, there's plenty of opportunity for that in this film. What amuses me the most, particularly watching it now, many years after last seeing it, is how times have changed, because what's considered old then is not considered old now. So Ruth Cracknell is in this film. She's like, they treat her like a geriatric, has to go into a nursing home, all this kind of stuff. She's only 70.
Yeah.
And in today's world, 70 is still jogging around Albert Park Lake.
It's when you retire.
Yeah. But she's a full-blown geriatric, apparently, and according to everyone else. And the funniest thing, which made me feel really fucking old, was her son is like saying things like, Jesus Christ, Mum, we need to put you in a home. I'm almost 40.
Yeah.
Well, you and I are well past that point.
Yeah. It's alarming. When you watch movies are such a load of shit when it really comes down to, because when you watch them and you're like, people are, getting drunk because their life is over by the time they turn 30 and stuff. And you're like, I remember when I turned 30 and it was, I didn't know what was going on.
I still felt like I was in school.
Yeah, I felt like I literally just got out of high school.
But I think there's been a definite shift though between the generations, because I think 70 was old once upon a time. Like the mortality rates changed.
Yeah, thanks to Botox, I think really. Botox and makeup has made it.
Maybe healthy lifestyles have something to do with it as well. I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
All right. Well, anyway, so Spider and Rose, check it out. Ruth Cracknell's never been better. Perhaps in Mother and Son, she's quite better in that, but.
She's good in Emerald City. No one mentioned that in the Australian comedy section either.
No, they didn't. But I realised how much I missed her when I was watching it. Like, there's no one quite like her. since. Anyway, some of Bill Bennett's films, just quickly, Backlash is one that I really love. He made that beforehand. He did Two If by Sea, In the Savage Land, Uninhibited, The Dear Cardholder. He's done so many movies, and he's got a new one coming out called The Way, My Way. Right, with who was in that one? Can't remember. Chris Hayward, I think.
Right.
But do you remember
Chris Hayward still?
Is it Chris Hayward? Yeah, he is, I think. But do you remember the Martin Sheen movie The Way with Emilio Estevez directing about the El Camino pilgrimage?
No.
Okay, well that was a fantastic film made about 10 years ago. This is the same story, The Way, but my way. So it's Bill Bennett did the same pilgrimage,
right?
Did it in real life, wrote a book about it, and now he's turned it into his own film. So,
yeah, right.
Interesting title though. The Martin Sheen film is The Way, and Bill Bennett's is The Way, My Way. Anyway.
Just destined to be instantly forgettable with titles like that. You're like, what was that one? I don't know what that film's about.
Should have been The Other Way.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, your recommendation, and then we'll wrap this sucker up.
Well, I'm going to recommend a movie. I'm going to do it a bit differently.
Okay. On the floor?
On the closing night.
Oh, okay.
On the closing night of Monster Fest, the closing day, we're playing a documentary called We Kill for Love, and that is my recommendation. It's a documentary all about 90s erotic thrillers. Now, I don't know about you, but I spent a lot of time watching 90s erotic thrillers.
I sure did.
Because they were often better than porn.
Dangerous Game was a favourite of mine.
Yeah, I was a big fan of A Woman Scorned, or they just call it Scorned. It's got a different title. Like in the US, it wasn't. It was just called like A Scorned Woman or something like that.
Body of Evidence?
Body of it. I mean, look, I remember seeing Basic Instinct at a friend's house. He borrowed it. His parents just were like, "Oh, you can borrow it whenever you want."
The VHS was wound down in that,
and
got all fuzzy in that part.
I tell you what, it was fucking awkward because there's the three of us watching it in his bedroom. And you're like, "What do you do with your boner?" Like it's awkward.
Pillow?
And like his pillow. It's fucking not. It's not like and this is a teen boys' room. It's not a teen girls' room. Where
Sounds
there's
like a great opportunity for a circle jerk to me.
Five throw pillows and a bunch of soft toys that you can hide behind. It's just jizz rags everywhere.
I mean, at least
cardboard stiff socks.
At least you weren't having the same reaction to like Double Impact or something like that.
Yeah.
That'd be awkward.
Cool Surface. Do you remember Cool Surface? That was famous because Terry Hatcher was going to get her tits out in them. And you kind of didn't, But all of these films are covered in this.
Yep.
And it is
So by doing something differently, you mean promoting?
Yeah, but but it is a recommendation.
Excellent.
I have seen it.
Yep.
I can recommend it.
Why not?
And I'm telling you where you can see it.
Excellent. It's the most useful recommendation we've ever had.
Yeah.
It is,
it has
legitimately.
all the hallmarks of a recommendation. It is great. It's directed by Anthony Penta. I believe it is getting or at least in the US, it's getting some kind of a VOD release.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about here. I would love to be able to convince someone like Umbrella or Imprint to do a 90s erotic thriller box set.
Ooh.
That would be
Needs
phenomenal.
A little glory hole at the back.
Yeah, just that's what it comes in a toilet stall with a hole in it.
It's just a brown box with a hole.
No, that's
little velvet curtains at the front.
That's gross. These films are legitimate.
It's like a Punch and Judy show. Awesome. Well, I mean, I haven't seen it. I want to.
Andrew Stevens. They talk to Andrew Stevens a lot.
There's one big glaring problem with this, though.
Yeah.
Boners in the cinema.
Well, if you come along, I have bought a whole bunch of raincoats to give out to people.
Excellent.
So should they need a bit of coverage? Unfortunately, the raincoats are see-through. So
you should have bought people little boxes.
Yeah. Well, but it's popcorn. You can do the popcorn trick.
That's true.
The cinema supplies its own popcorn.
Nice salty treat. There we go. Another show in the bag. Mid-Monster Fest show.
The most difficult of all shows.
It's been a bit of a bastard to arrange this one, that's for sure. But must thank Lisa Fineberg and Jay Morrissey for coming and having a chat to us about the Emu War. Go and check it out at Monster Fest. Go to the Monster Fest website and check out everything that's on the calendar.
Just go to Monster Fest.
Yeah, just go to Monster Fest. Just rock up and say, what's playing? I don't care. I want it.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And give me some of that popcorn. Pick up a t-shirt too.
Yeah, get yourself a t-shirt.
And if you see us there, just avoid, please.
We don't need to talk to you. We don't really believe you exist.
A little nod and a wink to let us know you know who we are.
Yeah.
That'll do.
Yeah, just stare. Just make eye contact a little too long, but then just go about your day.
And while you're watching the movie, look at us.
Yeah.
Hey,
stare at us the whole time.
They're the Good Movie Monday guys.
Yeah.
What do they think of the movie? That'd be great.
Yeah.
All right, time to wrap it up. You know what to do. Go to goodmoviemonday.com. Go to our socials, like, subscribe, share, comment, all that stuff. We want to interact with you. It would be fun. We'll put out another question this week for the next show.
I love that we just spent 2 minutes talking about how we don't want to interact with them, and then
online,
yeah,
different
in real life, but online we want to interact.
That's right. You don't know who you're getting if it's Good Movie Monday responding. You don't know who it is.
What is it? We're here to believe you.
Here's a song from the Reckless Kelly soundtrack. This is Faith by the Dukes. It's a good one. And I'll see you at the fest, mate, and I'll see you everyone next week.
Bye.
You got to have faith.